Please welcome Ella Barrett with the New Conversation Initiative.
Thank you. Can I get a shout out to our female voice of God today, Genevieve? Woo!
You're welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Ella Barrett and I am the co-founder of the New Conversation Initiative. And we specialize in mobilization and persuasion through a tactic called deep canvassing. So I would love to see a show of hands. How many of you are concerned about the way that fear messaging and race baiting are being used in our democracy? Yes. And I want to get some stomps, some snaps, some raise of hands. How many of you are concerned that within the progressive movement right now, we do not have the tools to address it? Yes. Our opposition is so adept at using fear and tapping into our fight or flight systems to motivate their base and sway over a huge portion of persuadable voters as well. And until we have the ability to calm fear and uproot prejudice, we are going to continue to lose to fear-based messages. But what if our political communication actually had the power to counteract fear and actually treat prejudice instead of hoping it goes away? And what if winning actually means reckoning with the deeply rooted historical prejudice in our country? Well, I am standing here in front of you today because I think we actually do have the tools. I've been working with a team of organizers for the last 10 years to develop a tactic called deep canvassing. And deep canvassing is the only tactic that has been proven to lastingly change voters' minds on deeply held issues, but also get at that underlying prejudice and remove it, dismantle it in a lasting way. So I actually want to show you what this looks like. I'm going to show you a 2-minute video edit of a longer conversation with a voter who undoubtedly, despite what he says, voted against us on marriage for LGBT people. So let's take a look. All right, so deep canvassing has been proven to persuade at a magnitude unlike anything else. And even more importantly, deep canvassing persuasion has been proven to last, even up against our opposition's most effective fear-based messages. And the breaking news from 2018 is that this persuasion has been proven on abortion and immigration. So just imagine what could be possible if every conversation we had with a voter from now until Election Day in November 2020 had this type of persuasive power. So we would love to give you some deep canvassing hot tips that you can take home with you. And first being that we suggest you add a true ID question to your script to uncover soft supporters, even if you're working on an issue-based campaign or an electoral campaign. Because we know against fear messaging and race baiting, our base is never as big as we believe. Right now, we're actually working with Open Progress to pilot new ways to engage with voters over text on immigration. And we start with a typical ID question. Would you say you're in favor, undecided, or against local police involvement in reporting undocumented immigrants to federal agents for deportation? As you can imagine, our base is way against this policy. We ask them why. They tell us all of these incredible reasons why they support undocumented people in our country. And then we added a true ID question, asking to our supporters to dig a bit deeper. Even though you're against it, are there any situations where you can imagine you would want local police to be responsible for reporting? And suddenly, 87.63% of the folks who started out supportive are telling us all sorts of situations where they can imagine they want local police to be responsible for reporting undocumented people. So I want to be clear, this doesn't mean that we're moving folks backwards. It means that we're striking the nerve that we know our opposition is going to hit come Election Day. And what this shows us is that we now have a group of true supporters that we have to activate, but also a group of soft supporters we must inoculate in order to win. And in order to inoculate and persuade, hot tip number 2 is that we really suggest that you train your volunteers and your teams to actively be curious and truly listen to voters. Because to undo race baiting and fear messaging, we have to have authentic conversations with voters. What the voter says to us and processes with us in a non-judgmental environment is so much more important than anything we have to say. Oop, giving away all the goods. So last summer, we were part of the Immigration Strategic Messaging Project, where we were part of a coalition of immigrant rights groups testing how deep canvassing could increase support for pro-immigrant policies and decrease stigma against undocumented people. And Josh Calla and David Brockman designed a research project for us to measure 2 different scripts. The first script was a classic deep canvas script on immigration, and the second was a shorter, more traditional canvas script where canvassers asked a few good questions, but mostly delivered message-tested talking points. And what we found is that the deep canvas script was powerfully persuasive. We were able to generate 8 new supporters out of every 100 conversations, and this support lasted, y'all. Like up to 6 months, and that's as far as David and Josh have been able to measure. And this was an average of 11 minutes, these conversations. And comparatively, when the exact same set of canvassers delivered the short script conversation, there was no impact at all. And this was an average of 4-minute conversations. So what this is really telling us is that sending our folks out with message-tested scripts and talking points are not enough. We must train our folks to be authentically curious and listen to voters and understand their underlying concerns in humanity beneath their complicated views. And finally, I want to end with some hope. Because although you didn't get to see the conversation, it can look really complicated and scary when you're asking people and digging into what's going on with them. But I want to be clear that every single human, every single person in this room, every single volunteer that you all are going to work with has the skills and the tools they need to have these conversations naturally. Just as organizers, it takes some scripting and some training in order to unlock this persuasive power. And I know you didn't get to see the video, but my colleague Heather is here and Steve is here, and we would love to talk to you more about our work after. Thank you so much.